And I'm live. I'm gonna drink a beer on live. You can't do anything about it because it's live. They're telling the followers that we've started a live video. I really wish I could title this freaking thing. I don't know how to do that because I'm not that smart. Waiting for the kids to show up. I can watch myself on my own live. Oh, that broke. Why can't I? What the hell? Why is this not working? It's easy paintball. Then you click on the thing that says live. Oh wait. Wait, okay. Yeah. You should be able to see it. I don't know why I can't see that. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna do my thing. Get this up. So what we're doing on this live is we're gonna go over the OP Homefront, sort of the after action review and the, why is it label all messed up? Survey results. That felt good. So let's do it. So out of this survey that we've got, 52%, oh hello, wave to you. Out of the current survey we have 52% were 345th, so 52% were Russians, and then 47% of those that filled out this survey were infantry. So it's a pretty good split. So if you're hearing, like if you're listening to these results on YouTube or you're watching the live later or whatever, and you're like, me and my 10 friends completely disagree with that. Hey bro, fill out the freaking survey. I emailed it out. I'm not putting out publicly what the survey link is because just random people will fill it out and scuff my whole results. So that's why I'm only sending the survey link out to emailed registered players and both of the faction specific, the Discord channels and the Facebook groups. So there. So you'll be like, I want to take the survey. Well, you've got access to it. And I'm celebrating with a champagne of beers. Pretty much everyone was using, so 70% was using an M4 style of rifle, and only 20% was using AK style. That sounds about right, given, what up, homie? Given, the amount of players that filled out this survey. That's about right. About a good, almost quarter were using AKs. That's about what that looked like. Did you enjoy the early check-in? 72% did not use it. So there's that. What up, Spectre? 22% said yes. And then 2 did not. And those are probably the 2 that the first 2, or I probably screwed that part of it all up. And then after that, the 11 people that checked in Friday night were like, hey, this was really great. Yeah, it's because I had probably screwed those 2 guys over. We figured it out though, yeah? Did you play the Friday night, the night game on Friday night? Only 16% of you did. Everyone else did not. So I'm going to try and see, like, what can we do to boost that attendance. Is it cheaper? Or if we made the event cheaper, so usually it's 25, we knocked it down to 15 for registered, for anyone that was registered. So one of the things I want to know, and you can DM this to me, email it to me, throw it in the comments, whatever you want to do, what kept you from the Friday night game before Homefront? For most people, it's probably they just didn't want to, which is legit. Did you camp out in the parking lot? 18% said yes. And that 18% that said yes, I think is just the Spectre kids. that was camping out next to my truck with me. It was great. Dude, that camp out was fun. I had a lot of fun doing that. Had my little hobo shack going in the back of my truck. This is my hobo hut out of a tarp. This I was very happy about. 95% of you felt that the rules and the game format, the way it was written, made sense. That was one of the things I was most concerned about because an overwhelming... You could tailgate barbecue, I don't care. Because such an overwhelming majority... where was I going? Because such an overwhelming majority of these players were new, which is why in that registration process I asked people, like, have you done anything Milsim before? Almost, like, easily, 70-80% no. So, for me to write something that would make sense to someone that had never done something like this before meant a lot to me. So that's a big feather in my cap. Camel patterns. Camel patterns? Camouflage patterns. Most everyone, 33% were wearing multi-cam OCP. That's going to be represented in the infantry numbers. Just 20% I just said literally anything Russian. 12% was M81 Woodland, 10% Marpat, or Marpat, and then 10% solid black, and then it just goes from about 5% and down for all the different mishmashes of camouflage patterns. I will get back to why this is important once we start going through the feedback stuff. But there was a specific reason why I asked that question. Age demographic. 18 to 23 was 27%. 18% was 30 to 34, which kind of surprised me because you really don't see that demographic, that older demographic, a whole lot in most fields, at least not in the Roseville field. 16% was 17 or younger. That was pretty cool. And then 15% and lower was every other demographic from there, which was groovy. I found this to be interesting. 27% of you are home fielded here in Roseville at crewing, which I thought was pretty cool. And then 20% came from ask on Discord. This is AR4 Homefront. What? 20% came from Combat Zone, 16% from All Patriot, and then it was just like lower levels from there, from about 16% on down, just came from various fields. Not a lot, only 8% came from US Airsoft, which I thought was interesting. I thought we were going to get a lot more Anderson plays. Oh well, I'll get you at some point. This was cool for me. 52% of you, it was your first time ever being at the field, and that also includes the Friday night fight that we did the night before. 52% of the players at Homefront had never been to Combat Zone prior to this, so I'm pretty stoked on that. I've met the expectations of 75% of you. That's not bad. For the first time we're doing something of this nature, okay. Obviously there's, room to improve. But I'm pretty happy with that. Why did the music stop? Hey music, what are you doing? I was jamming out. Refresh. So I was pretty happy with that. And then obviously 25%, it did not meet expectations. That's something I'm going to have to work on. If you have some sort of feedback, so I'm obviously going to read the feedback also, but if you feel like that I'm not properly addressing the feedback you want, or if you didn't have a chance to give me feedback, DM or email, or Discord. Find a way to get a hold of me, because I'm in charge of, I will be in charge of Homefront, Yellow Rocks, and the Siege of Avalon, which I will talk more about probably later in the live. But I'm the guy you want to talk to for that, because I'm in charge of those 3 events. This I thought was cool. I exceeded expectations for 41%. I thought that was cool. I didn't think it was going to exceed expectations. 87% of you are going to come back next year. I will also talk about the changes we will be making for next year. Hello, Ethan. 12% will not be coming back next year, so that is that. I'm hoping if you either see this live or if you or once we start talking about Homefront as we get closer to it, I'm hoping that 12% will go, oh, yeah, that sounds way better than last year. And I'll get your money. Which would you prefer for next year as far as formats? 52% said just Saturday as it was. 27% said Saturday, break for an hour, night game, then Sunday. So basically a 2-day format with a night game. Traditionally, in most Milsim style events, if it's a 2-day format, they almost always will have a night game on Saturday. DFE does it, Lion Claws does it. I think certain spots at American Milsim will do it. I know Overwatch Tactics in Texas used to do it with their Avalon series. That's the most common format, is day, night, and then day again. Only 10% said Saturday, break for an hour, and then a night game. Then another 10%, literally the same amount, 10.42%, said Saturday, no night game. Then so what we're going to go with is we're just going to leave the time thing, or at least that format as far as Saturday, Sunday alone. So next year, Homefront will be an 8 a.m. start time, whereas an 8 a.m. check-in, whereas this year was 9 a.m., and that was one of the questions I had in there. So we're going to do probably like 8 to 4, 8 to 5, probably 8 to 4 because of how dark it would get, and then a 1-hour lunch break in the middle. There were some kids, I'll go over like some of the feedback. Some of y'all some hardcore. I'm going to be real. What you want is not going to pay my child support, though. So there's that. Boop, 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 boop. And then in that, so within that 1-day format, 64% said they wanted to keep that format that we had. So playing about 3 hours, a 1-hour regimented break, and then coming back and then finishing out for about another 3 hours. Only 35% said play the whole time. So, I agree. That 1-hour break was in fact meh. So only 35% actually wanted to just go from basically bell to bell. 64% want to repeat what we did. Playing, break, playing again, raffle, cut it, go home. So that's what we're going to do. Now, if you're sitting there like, that's not what me and my friends want to do. Okay, well, did you take the survey? Because maybe there's 20 or 30 dudes that are like, no, I want to play the whole time. Bro, put that in this. I need that. Next year's event will be a direct representation of this year's survey. So please bear that in mind. And I did I did 2 email blasts for the survey using the hop-up registered email. So the email you used to register with is the email that I sent out to. What? I know, right? Going down. We had barbecue there. We did, in fact, have barbecue. Dude, that tri-tip sandwich guy, real good. I want to try and get him for Yellow Rocks, which I will speak about as well. For future events, what months do you not want to play? Top 5. December, January, February, November, July. That makes sense, because that's when it's either really cold and rainy or really hot as blood. So we're probably not going to really do anything in those months. November, we're going to start it earlier in November, which will probably be addressed in a second. Where's the next question? Top 5 favorite months that they want to play. April, September, October, March, May. And then also, hilariously enough, the 6th one is November. So November is about that dead center spot. So I think really it's just when people say November, I would assume it's like early November versus later November when it starts. So early November, seasonally, that's really just October. What should next year's OP Homefront be? 47% said the Saturday before Thanksgiving. 39% said literally the weekend we just did, the first Saturday in December. And then 19% said the Saturday after Thanksgiving, which would be Thanksgiving, Friday, Homefront. So next year what we're going to do is 2023's Homefront will be the Saturday before Thanksgiving, which is, what is it, like the I want to say that's the 18th. Let me look at that on the calendar real quick. 18th. 18 November 2023 will be the 2023's OP Homefront, and that is a direct result of surveys. Also, like, the weather is pretty much guaranteed to be better then, because it really didn't start raining until about Thanksgiving. So before Thanksgiving, weather should be beautiful, which is, I mean, that weather, it was a big factor in how that event went. So I think we'll have a much better event with better weather, and we just have it the Saturday before Thanksgiving. Because then, even if we have it like the Saturday after Thanksgiving, you're still doing your Thanksgiving travel routine, and, you know, people are still in town, out of town, and so on and so forth. 3.3 out of 5 stars. How much did you love playing in the rain and that weather? 3.3. About dead center. I ain't mad at that. That's almost perfectly set. That's a little above middle. 10% gave it a 1 star. 27% gave it a 2 star. 14% gave it a 3 star. 12% gave it 4. And 34% said 5 stars. I loved it. Let's do it again. We're obviously not going to do that again. But it was cool. How was the format itself? 68% of you said that you liked the amount of objectives, but something more than a simple capture, like domination point. So I've already started writing the event for next year. We're going to have an armored car, armored personnel carrier, which would involve basically the back of a pickup. So you could have like 6 dudes in there, and when they're going from point A to point B, they are invincible and they can shoot out the truck. But once the vehicle comes to its stop point, you have 5 seconds to get out of the truck, and then after 5 seconds you can be killed. So we're going to do that, but it can only go on certain paths. We've got chemical warfare, which is like a really big, chonky Enola Gay smoke grenade, probably in red smoke, so that when the admin pulls it and the commander like gives him the grid zone designator and all that stuff, admin pulls it, throws it. If you get caught in the smoke, you're an opposing player, you're dead. So we're going to do some fun stuff like that. Then some mission stuff, some bombing runs and things like that. But again, when I wrote this event, this very first event, I wanted it as basic as possible, just to give players a feel for what that Milsim style really is, as far as like a regimented event. So the whole purpose of this first event was kind of to be simple and basic, because I wanted to focus on the structure of it. Because I didn't want to overload players with like a bunch of rules, and then their little minds fry. Because if you've ever, even a player should know this, if you have too many rules and you introduce that to like a player that's not used to that many rules, they're just going to do whatever they want, and that causes chaos. Did you enjoy the weekly emails we sent out? 12% of you said no. How dare you? But 87% of you said yeah. Yay! Out of 5 stars, event communication, 4.1 stars. I'm okay with that. 6% gave it a 1 star, 2% gave it a 2 star, 14% gave it a 3 star, 27% gave it a 4 star, 50% of you gave it 5 stars. Hey! There is not a limit on nade purchases. We just have to make sure we have enough going in next year. That's all. So again, I didn't know how many grenades we were going to need, so we ended up buying. So we pre-sold about, I think, close to 3 cases. We already had about a half case at the field, and then I bought 4 cases. So 3 to cover our pre-order, and then an extra case. So a case means 50. A half case is 25. Boop, 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 boop. Should next year's events allow high cap or winding magazines for rifles or SMGs? 70% of you said no, and that's what we're going to go with. Only 29% said yeah, let them do it. So next year you will not be allowed to use high cap mags. You will have to use mid caps, but we're going to cap it at 250. So like if you have those EPM 1 250 mags, that's fine. But no winding, so we'll probably say a mid cap is 250 rounds or 250 BBs and lower. because then you can use your EPM ones. Next year, I know this is gonna be a salty point of contention. Next year, should the Russians, the 345th PPD, be allowed to use M4s? 43% said yes, 56% said no, and that's what we're going with. So next year, the 345th PPD will not be allowed to use M4s. You can still use any other gun type. Tommy guns, KWA Mod 1s, what do we have on the wall that's not an M4 right now, other than like AKs? So the PCC 45s, you can use those. These ARP9s, you can use those ARP9s, you can use those. Scorpion Evos, you can use those, but no M4 platforms. You can use something that takes an M4 magazine. So you could use, say, like, if you had like a Tavor that used M4 mags, you can use that, that's fine, but no M4 platforms. I'll go into why we're making that next year. Or I'll go into why that's going to be a rule. Overall, how was Saturday's overall check-in efficiency? 3.8 out of 5 stars. I'm not mad at that. 23% said 3 stars, 36% had 4 stars, 27% had 5 stars. I thought it was pretty decent. I'm not going to lie. I thought we did it for our first time. And considering I did not brief the staff effectively enough as I thought I did not do a good enough job of telling our staff what to do. So that was on me. But still pretty good. We are going to make a few changes. So next year we're still going to do that station style, but all those stations are going to be lined up next to each other. The small monkey wrench we had thrown into us was that parking lot filled up fast, like really fast. So when we were trying to set up our canopies, we're like, oh, shit, where are we going to put all these canopies? Because all the cars are filled in here. All right, we'll figure this out. So next year, we're gonna probably have our check-ins set up by 8 a.m. and it's all gonna be in a line. So it's gonna be check-in, items, faction check, and stuff like that. The only thing that will be out of that line will be chrono, because chrono is obviously on the field. What time should we open check-in? 8 a.m. I did 9 a.m. this year because I did not think airsofters were going to want to wake up that early. Apparently I was wrong. I highly underestimated them. So 8 a.m. check-in for next year, which means my staff and I will have to have check-in operational by about 7 a.m. So we're going to have to get up real early, which means I'm camping again. Should we keep camo patterns for the factions or change them? 64% said keep them, 36% said change them, and to put those changes in question 31, and I will go over that shortly. Are you excited for OPL rocks around spring 2023? 80% said yes, 20% said no. Okay, I'll have to convince that 20%. I think I'll do a pretty good job. Actually the yellow rocks, let me bring it up. The information in the game format for Yellow Rocks is public. It's up, but it's in the Discord. So if you want to hop in the Discord and get that link, it's in there. It will be, so the current date we have for OPL Rocks is 8 April, and that's going to be an 8 a.m. check-in. We'll probably start selling tickets early, mid-February, most likely, is when we're going to start with that. And it's going to be the same thing. It's still going to be on, Hop Up and all that stuff. But if you have any questions about Yellow Rocks, jump into the Discord and check out the Yellow Rocks link. Or if you don't have Discord, you have a friend with it, say, hey man, text me the link for Yellow Rocks. What should we change for next year? One person said nothing. Okay. Another person said better refs. I don't know what that means. Like more refs? What do you mean better refs? We have amazing refs. This is a New York Times best. Oh my, these are several paragraphs. So make it more enjoyable. There were a lot of new players, including me. It would be helpful if new players could walk the field before playing started. I'm okay with that. So I will write that in. If I forget to speak on that as we get closer to Yellow Rocks, please someone remind me, because I am okay with you guys walking the field if you've never been there. I'm perfectly okay with that. Just got to put glasses on because you would be walking past Chrono. So you just got to put glasses on and you'd be good to go. They don't even have to be full seal. Like if you're a kid, like if you're a minor and you just want to go walk the field, you don't have to put on a whole dang mask. You just put sunglasses on because no one's gonna be shooting at you. You just have to deflect like ricochets and stuff. Just go walk the field, check it out. Deathku, I'm okay with that. Map didn't provide enough detail. That's correct. So the map that we used was pulled from Google Images, but Google is just gonna be a flat 2D, so it's not gonna show you like the high points and the low points and stuff like that. So that's fair. Blah blah blah. Hidden caches. I don't know how to do that. Found it a little hard to know who was friendly and who wasn't. I will go into that. No rules for certain weapons. I think they mean like how the snipers and the machine gun parties could like get a head start or like a lead off. That's gonna go away. So we're not gonna do that anymore. So everyone is just gonna start no farther than the edge of your cone line, and for next events we will have refs monitoring that. So for this first one, I kind of wanted to give my ref staff. Is it possible for someone to make a low-grade topo map? Probably not, because I don't think anyone knows how to do that. Wham, wham. So for this one, I wanted to give Colby and Thomas a chance to like play like a Milsim style event. So going forward, things sort of make sense to them as refs because they've been there. They know the paths. They know the hiding spots. They know what to look. They know what the player's going to do because they've been in that mind space before. So now, like Yell Rocks, everyone's gonna ref. All my guys are gonna ref stuff. But the reason that they're gonna ref stuff at the field is because if they want to go to like Lion Claws or Desert Fox events for Airsoft, company's gonna pay for it. So that's why. Because like honestly, the only time I play is when I either go to DFE or Milsim West. Other than that, I'm a desk guy. Whamp whamp. Change spawns, make them further away. I don't disagree with that. Reduce the number of tourniquets to 2 and limit ammo. We can't limit ammo, it's too hard to regulate. So, like Milsim West, where you are not, they shake you down, they search your stuff. Milsim West, you're not allowed to bring on your own BBs. Hi, Darren. The only way you get BBs in Milsim West is your leadership gives them to you. So if you run out of BBs, you're screwed. That is too hard to regulate on a regular field. Because how are we going to prevent people from sneaking that in? Like, yeah, okay, we could put someone at the gate, I guess, but players always find a way. You cannot stop a determined human being. So it's not that I don't want to do that. I think for these events where there's supposed to be 100 on 100, it's too hard to do that and would water down the overall experience. What I am trying to do is I do want to do like a smaller, not like a whole day, but like maybe just like a 40 to an hour game where it's basically Tarkov. So I am planning an Escape from Tarkov style game. I'll figure out pricing and blah blah blah, but it would be like 60 players, maybe 40 minutes to an hour, probably before check-in kind of a thing, probably like the last Sunday of the month kind of a deal. So like those when we start getting into more of the niche Milsim West replicating, that's when we can start doing stuff like you can only start with a magazine, you have to find BBs on the field. But for 200 players, that's not enforceable. That's not realistically enforceable. Not that I don't want to do that, I don't think there's any realistic way where we can control that. That makes sense. Milsim West, especially if you play it like George Air Force Base or Clovis, that makes sense. Because if they even see you going to your car, you're out. So that makes sense. So I can tell that this person is a Milsim West player because they said maybe even have medic water like Milsim West. For 200 players, again, where out of 200 players, about 108 about 150, 60 of them are brand new. That's not a realistic standard. It's not going to sell. We're not going to make money. Versus like a game mode that I can create for like on the monthly Milsims that we just play it before we start normal game stuff. That's probably where we're going to see something more like that. Third independent faction like Scabs or something. Not that I didn't think about. So we have for... Yeah, it also doesn't help that people left halfway through the game. Again, weather. So anyone that's just jumping in, Homefront next year is going to be the Saturday before Thanksgiving to have better weather. So the Siege of Avalon will have a third, an NPC faction. We're going to call them the Underminers. I thought about doing an NPC faction for this one. Because it's not really that mission or quest or lore heavy, I don't really know how I would write them in. I even thought about doing... So instead of, let's say, honestly, at this point, I'm just copying literally Milsim West. I thought about doing, like, basically NATO, Rust 4, and then Militia. And if you've been to Milsim West, you understand what Militia does. Why is people calling us when we're closed? No. A wireless cow? It's really annoying. Hang on. I unplugged it. Lol. Anyway. So it's not that I don't disagree with those suggestions. It's I don't know how we'd be able to write them in effectively. So that in a manner in which they don't just cause more confusion, because most of these players are still very new. I would say maybe 25%-ish were either Milsim West regulars or have been to a Milsim style game or a Milsim West style game. So I'm not surprised. Which is you're like, yes, Milsim, that means Milsim West. Milsim would mean like OP Lion Claws, calm down. Anyway. Since no one likes to use M81 Woodwind Fernando, and it's really not Russian camo, they should be either blah 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 blah. So a couple of folks brought up like, hey, if we're doing this basically U.S. versus Russian thing, why is M81 and Tiger Stripe on the Russian side? Because so the way that I wrote the rules was understanding that there probably wasn't, with the exception of like the Russians, and honestly, when I wrote this event, I didn't know till like a month into ticket sales that the Russians were going to show up. I thought it was just going to be a handful of dudes dressed as Russians, and then it was going to be more like OP Lion Claws' event, where we're just going to have like these American patterns denote Russians, and these American patterns denote NATO, basically. Because that's what OP Lion Claws does. So as far as the camo patterns go, if you're familiar with the OP Lion Claws event they have at the end of the year at GAFB, which is the Balkan something, where they do Russians versus Americans, I just kind of replicated that camo style, because if I were to only say only the Russians can have Russian camo patterns, I'm going to sell like 60 tickets for Russians. Maybe. Probably more like 40 if those guys can come back again next year. So I wrote the event so that anyone could pick any faction depending on kind of what they had reasonably. Or MA1's pretty common. So that's kind of why I did it. I wrote the uniform standards for the more, for the less hardcore airsofter. That's it. Again, because so many of these kids are new. That's why. Again, it's not that I don't disagree with it. It's what it comes down to is what kind of player base am I going to get for each faction, and am I, the event creator, writing a rule set that is at least intended to be balanced equally on both sides. That's it. Because if we try and do things that are going to start going asymmetrical, well, then it's just going to be one big old crapshoot then, isn't it, kids? And we can't have that. because I want it to be balanced and fair for everyone so everyone has a great time. Less tourniquets, ammo limits, more strict camo regs for better IFF or identification of friendly forces. You as a player can use less tourniquets if you can only use one. What? Did I just join my own live? No. If you want for a more Milsim West style immersion, you can just use one tourniquet. And then you, the player, are having more of a control over your own immersive experience. But if you don't want to do that, then you can use up to 3. That's why we limited it to 3. That's also sort of keeping in part, because I had a feeling most kids were probably going to come. Ooh, it's a big thing. Would second Sunday be more beneficial? Usually, blah, 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 blah. Reservists are kind of hard to predict, because I had a bunch of buddies in the Guard that were already out on some big thing that they were gearing up for. So they were gone anyway. So to get it before the weather starts getting crazy, and before we start conflicting with Thanksgiving stuff, we're just going to do it the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and then we're going to kind of compare and contrast numbers, and maybe we change it for 2024. What about having camo rigs for smaller teams with special assignments and objectives? I'm not against that, but again, so let's say we have like a special team that wears solid black, and we only put like 20 kids in there. What if I get 50 kids that want to sign up and just play and wear solid black? So again, it's not that I don't disagree with you, but for the sake of saturation and basically selling tickets and getting players on the fields to have a good time, once we start adding restrictions, we start limiting how many players can show up. And I'm trying to grow this to be like a huge, super cool event that people go to. So again, I don't disagree with you, but for the sake of getting more players in, so you can shoot more kids in the face, womp womp. So the big thing we're gonna do to improve IFF, or the identification of friendly forces, or to reduce some confusion about who is not friendly, is the M4 thing. So if you're on the 1st Infantry, or NATO, US, whatever you want to call it, if you're 1st Infantry and you see someone with an M4, you already know you're not supposed to shoot them because the other guys aren't going to use M4s. That makes sense. Also, I have a feeling that one of the issues that people ran into with friendly fire was, even if you're wearing a dye mask, the rain getting on your mask, but the ability to see, I think, also had an effect on people's ability to identify friend and foe. So that's why we're going to roll it back to a weekend that we're going to assume will have better weather. That castle was really hard to take. From the looks in these photos, it seemed like it became the fun, but the Op 14. So we are going to implement some tools commanders can have. One of those things is going to be probably the one we'll use that commanders might really love, is the chemical warfare, which is going to be a big old EG grenade. Not the 18s. Maybe it is the 18s. No, it's not the 18s. It's like the one that's bigger than the 18, and it's basically just going to be chemical warfare. It's going to be mustard gas. So the commander's going to call it up. It's going to cost X amount of points that they have to earn through cap points and other stuff. And if the opposing team gets caught and that's physically caught in the smoke, they's dead. So it's because a nuke is kind of hard to do. So we're also going to implement indirect fire. So you have to capture a radio tower and a mortar pit, and then you can call mortars in. And I have a whole script for you have to call for fire. You have to know like what grid you want. I might even make kids do it down to like a 6-digit grid instead of a 4-digit grid. I know, right? But even then, like all the events I've been to, when they use indirect fire, it's usually some sort of pyro goes off and then a ref goes, "Hey, you guys are dead." Well, that really sort of takes away from the theater of the mind that we're trying to implement, doesn't it? But as a game mechanic, we're still going to have it. I'm just trying to find more ways to sex it up, but I don't really think you can Otherwise, I feel like more events would have that. So mortars and indirect mortars, artillery, whatever you want to call it, is really just one of those things where you just make some theatrics for the delivery and maybe some sort of unique delivery system so that people know, it already went off, and then the admin just goes, dead, 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 dead. But it's going to be probably 60% cheaper than a nuke or a chemical warfare. I thought about a gas mask thing. I, hand to God, thought about, like, what if you could do a gas, but here's the thing, like, when you put, because kids are going to scramble to put the gas mask on, it's going to compensate, it's going to, not compensate, it's going to interfere with your safety stuff. So if you're a kid, so like if you're, let's say you're 17 and you're wearing a dye mask, there's going to be a point during a firefight where you're not going to have your mask on because you're trying to put your gas mask on, and then it becomes like an iPro thing. I'm not really concerned about Face Pro, but it's an iPro issue. But I did like, I could have this cool, but what if it knocks a kid's iPro off and we get like a weird blind man thing going? Rats. I mean, I'll write it in so that if you can play with a gas mask, and that's fine, but yeah. So like so if you wanted to play with one of those gas masks that had rated lenses on it, yeah, I can write that in. But then I also don't want to write that in because I feel like it's going to be one of those gas, 9-second things, and kids are going to go, rip my iPro off right about when the mask is here. Yeah, or respirators or something like that. I might write in something like that. That would be okay. Just like a painter's respirator or something like that. Nothing that has to be rated or anything crazy. But yeah, that's something I am considering. But then again, if it's going to be that expensive, what are you going to get for how many points you're going to, like, you want to wipe everyone out. So it's a balance, but I'll probably write in like a respirator rule or something like that. That's fine. Everything team style. I like having a lunch break to reset. The field gets, if things get too entrenched, it gives up. Yeah. The reset is nice. That lunch break is nice. Because here's the other thing. What about adding objectives like ambushes? So I am going to write in, let me bring that up. Screw it, I'll just tell you what I'm doing already. I'll just get early with it. One of the also, other than like some bombing runs and some capture and hold this sort of scenarios that I'm going to kind of DM, if you can kill the commander, you'll get points. Because remember, the commander's mostly going to be in spawn. So if you kill the commander, you can get, say, 100 points, and if chemical warfare is 60 points, if you could somehow sneak a sniper in there, kill the commander when he's in a spawn point, which is legal, by the way. You just can't physically cross those barrels. So if you could snipe the commander, get X amount of points, roll that into chemical warfare, and then bomb a capture point, that's a pretty good combo. I'm also going to do select platoon leaders. So I don't want to do like all the platoon leaders. Otherwise, I'm going to have a ref on those platoon leaders at all times, and it kind of gives away the position. So I'll probably radio up like, hey, for the next 10 minutes, if someone kills the first platoon infantry platoon leader, you get 20 points off the break. Like 20 points right there. Yeah, that could work. Instead of going, all platoon leaders are always worth this, that's harder to control. Especially if we're trying to do like a point value system, it's kind of hard to control. Again, it's not that I disagree with it, it's just how do I, as a promoter, manage and enforce that? It's just resource management. What was the other thing? I think those were it. I think those are the big ones. Weapon and uniforms, went over that. Base locations, went over that. Players were chill. Yay. Dude, like, there was very little arguing and like, hey, F you call, like, I only heard it like a couple times. But if you go to like Roseville or any public, you go to CQB City, you go to any normal public weekend field, bro, kids are yelling at each other left and right about hit calling. I didn't really hear a whole lot on my end. I would say slightly less than what the average field goes for, which is cool. We do have multicam tops. And I think we have a couple 8-tacs left. I gotta order some more combat tops. Gotta get some of those going. I'll probably put in a big order probably soon because we're gonna start doing Milsim Day in January again too in Roseville, which is really fun. Refs did a good job patrolling the field. Yay! The platoons were strategic. The platoons and strategic planning was really fun and immersive. Yay! That's why I handpicked a lot of the leadership, because they were people that I trust. Control points were good, but perhaps changing the orientation. We'll look at that. Buff to LMG sniper teams to be positioned outside. Yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. Everything and more. Yay! Gameplay was fun. I know, right? This ain't CZ paintball field. Roar. We're going to do some paintball stuff next year. Some really cool stuff. Provide incentives for staying the entirety of the main event. Yeah, so I've learned in the 6 or 8 years in the airsoft industry, you cannot outmarket Mother Nature. You can't. It doesn't matter. We could have handed dudes $100 cash towards the end, and at some point everyone would have been like, you know what, let's just go. It's raining too hard. It's just how it goes. So what I'm hoping is, since we're planning it the Saturday before Thanksgiving, the weather will be gorgeous. We'll get to play a great day, and we'll have more than a company versus a platoon and a half after lunch, because that's what it honestly was. It was about a platoon and a half worth of dudes. Second half was chaos. Let's be real. Second half was chaos. But it was fun for like the first hour. And then it got spawn camped, and it was like, all right, well, we could reset these guys, but we're just going to be back to this position in another few minutes anyway. Everyone's leaving, so we'll just go with the flow. I do want to start doing patches. Probably not faction-specific ones, probably just event ones, but you have to stay to the end of the event to get it. Because some places will give you the patch at the beginning of the event. That's stupid. We're going to do it at the end of the event. Airsoft in the forest and buildings is fun. I mean, speeds up. Those airsoft pronouns. Gun restrictions, good. Everyone thought it was pretty good. Hot dog guy, yeah, dude. Again, another up for the hot dog and sandwich homie. Props to that. I'm gonna have him try and be our regular. Let's give us all the player you have. Blatant cheating in the very first minute of the game. Yeah, have you not played Airsoft before? Like, there's gonna be cheating. I got 50 refs on the field with 20 players. There's still gonna be cheating. We are gonna increase the amount of refs for all of our events going forward, however. If you want the Yellow Rock's details, it's in our Discord right now. That's where the link is posted. I'll probably start publicly talking about it more. But to incentivize people going into our field's Discord, Yellow Rock's event is public, and all the information is public. It's in the Discord. I have a Discord specific channel for Yellow Rocks. Beer burps. I like that you are all passionate about what you do. That's because we're nerds. Let's check in. Yeah, check-in should be better. Good for the first event. Thanks. Better radio communication. So we're going to try and... We're thinking about having rental radios, so just buying a bunch of Baofangs, probably like the 82s, like the big... Not the smaller ones, but the ones with the actual LCD screens on them. And maybe like having those, like you could rent them. We'll probably at least give them to the commanders and platoon leaders that are pre-programmed. But even the radios that I tried to give Min a radio, it sucked. I don't know if it was the weather or if it just didn't program right through chirp, but he could hear me clearly. No, I could hear him clearly. I sounded like an alien underwater to him. We are going to do Facebook stuff for it also. So every event I have, I'm going to do Facebook stuff for it. Clarity regarding forward deployment. Here's the clarity for forward deployment. It's done. Whee! Get a loudspeaker. Yeah, we do that for like trying to gather everyone up. But also keep in mind, getting airsofters to do anything is like herding cats. We can do the best we can. I'm gonna use my big old staff sergeant voice as much as I can. But telling people to hurry up and getting them to actually hurry up, night and day, my guy. It's the best we can do. Yeah, I think it was a radio freak problem. And maybe some of those radios, like maybe some of the Baofangs getting wet and maybe that water seeping into it. I don't know. I don't know how well Baofangs do in the rain. I haven't used them in inclement weather. Administrative channel for our players to tune ceasefires. Yeah, that's fair. I think, well, I can't remember. I think in the ops kit I put out the range control channel. But that is something we're going to have. Event overall was great, but in the rain, wearing equip. So here's the other thing with some cheating. And one of the guys actually brought this. I can't remember if I got it from here in person. Because it was raining and cold, people were wearing more layers, especially like rain layers. And that, plus the hard raindrops. See, Ethan? So like there's times I was walking on the field with my rain jacket on, and I couldn't tell if I was getting shot at by players or if those were raindrops. That's how hard it was raining at some point. Plus, the additional layers is going to make it hard to feel like a rifleman shot. Or if you're using like a 350, like an SMG style thing, that's going to be kind of tough. Because again, it's more layers and it's colder. But again, hopefully with better weather, we see a greater reduction in all those problems like that. But we can't, I mean, even with refs, it's hard to crack down on that. Defending country should get militia personnel. I thought about doing a militia thing. I really don't. We're just going to keep it the way it is. I had a great time. Yay! Amount of people supposed to be. So here's what's kind of funny is there's a couple dudes in the suggestions that were like, this was too packed. I want, you should have less players. And then there's a few other guys that were like, bro, you should have way more players. We could put so many more people on this field. Like, what are we doing? So Yellow Rocks, Avalon, and Homefront are always going to be 100 on 100. And that's just going to how we're going to do it. Blah, blah, blah. Communication was great. Honestly, it did not feel like a $50 event. Would not come back for the same level of experience. My guy, what are you doing for 50? Like, what do you do? What are you doing for $50? What do you think you're going to get? There is going to be some things we are going to change. But Yellow Rocks, I think, is going to be 55 because we're going to have event patches. So going forward, all of our events are probably going to be $55, $60, depending on what the patch costs us. And that's it. Plus, we're going to start incorporating a lot more stuff to them. So there's going to be like prop creation, more refs, blah, blah, blah. It's going to cost us a little bit more money to run it. So we're probably going to go up to, I think Yellow Rocks is going to be 55. Avalon is going to be 60. And I think we're probably going to rock it at 60. But Yellow Rocks and Homefront will be one-day events. Avalon is going to be a two-day event. So that's going to be cool. Schedule another food truck to show up for better food option. Can you get me one, please? No, I'm not going to do one-day events over $60 at our field. That seems just crappy. Unless we're doing something wild. 60 would be the most. So Avalon will probably be 60 because there's a lot to it, and we're going to have NPCs and a lot more going into it. That'll be the most we do. So $60 would be the most. But, bro, we almost... Avalon will be September 15, 16. Bro, we almost did not have a food truck. So in a bunch of the guys of all the food trucks we hit up, first of all, we're in Oroville, which most of the food trucks were either coming from like the Sacramento area or like the Chico area. So to get them just to come to Oroville, out of the people that were willing to come to Oroville, they want some sort of guarantee. So let's say their minimum is $2,000. They make $1,500. They expect us to pay them their $500. That $500 makeup. So I don't play that game. Anyone, if you have food truck friends, anyone that has licensed and insurance, all the appropriate stuff, that is appropriately licensed and insured and legal and blah, 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 anyone's welcome to show up. I ain't paying you. You take whatever. I'm also not taking a percentage. So whatever homie made is what homie kept. I don't want his money. I'm making plenty of money off the event. I'm not going to charge like some poor dude in his food truck business. Like, that seems kind of chintzy to me. I mean, if you got the licenses and the insurance for it, I'm down. So that guy hit me up, hit me up maybe two or 3 weeks prior to the event. But But he was the only dude that hit me up, and he was the only guy I had any good contact with. Everyone else was like, oh yeah, maybe, or they were all booked that weekend. So it's not that I don't want more food truck guys. It's that trying to get them, like pulling teeth. It's tacos and sandwiches. What? It's the gosh darn food truck TV shows. I tell you, all these food truck guys got bougie. I just want tacos, bro. I don't need anything. I need like this is a modern hybrid Pan-Asian take on a simmered. No, bro. Hot dogs, burgers, tri-tip. So silly. Someone were to cater pre-order. Yeah. Well, the other thing is, like, to a point, you can DoorDash to the field, right? There's that you can do. But for, like, an actual, like, food truck vendor, let me tell you how much, that was the biggest pain in the ass I had, was trying to lock in a food truck vendor. And I was terrified, because that means that players are going to leave the field and probably not come back. Because they're like, oh, we had lunch, this was fun, let's go to the house, get drunk. Which I ain't mad at. But, I mean, granted that happened anyway because of the weather. But I feel like, let's say it was a beautiful spring day. I let dudes go to lunch. Because it's a beautiful spring day, they're probably going to come back and keep playing. Unless I don't give them an incentive to stay, and I actually kind of incentivize, almost encourage leaving and go get food, and they're just going to go, we already got all our shit in the car, let's just leave now. Like, no, come back. I need you to get shot in the face. So there's that. I don't know who the Kiki's food truck is, but they're welcome to come anytime to Orville and just hit it up. So if you've got anyone that's got a food truck, or if you have a food truck business and you want to go any weekend on the field, send an email to... Don't email me, because email James. Other James, Sexy James. Send an email to CZPBAS. Charlie Zulu, Bravo, Alpha Sierra at gmail.com. Or you just go on the Combat Zone website, use that email. Because that's going to get you direct to James, who's the field manager, and he does all that stuff. That's pretty much it. So that's it. That's all the stuff for it. So that's all the feedback we got. That's all the surveys and all the percentages of kids that said stuff. In case you're wondering, I'll leave it open for a couple more questions. If you have questions about Homefront, Yellow Rocks, or Siege of Avalon, I'll open it up for 5 more minutes, and then I'm just gonna kill the live and go home and eat dinner. Because I like dinner. Because I'm fat. So we're just chilling. Close that out. Open this back up. Start grooving. Yellow Rocks will not... Yellow Rocks will be... So all the Airsoft events we have are either going to be on the first or the third Saturday or weekend of the month. That way it ties in with our Friday night fights. So yes, it'll have a night game, but not on a Saturday, because I don't think that many players would sign up for it, and I think I would lose money by paying a staff member to stay there and ref it, than versus how many players we'd get. So... NATO and Desert Tiger Camo for which event? Predator did move in. NorCal, which NATO and Desert Tiger Camo? Okay, which event are you talking about? Predator is now next door to the arms room. That is correct. So Predator Paintball is now located at 3031 Foothills Boulevard. I don't think it's reflected in Google yet, but I think we have signs at the Rockland location. Rockland location wasn't getting a lot of traffic, which is sad. Because it was down the street from Boot Barn, and I love Boot Barn. Why does it tell me that I have 20 something? Okay, so apparently I have 20 seconds remaining. I don't know what that means, but I think Instagram's going to kick me off soon. Go to the Discord and look it up, but I think Tiger Stripe should be some faction. It's going to kick me off the live, so I love you guys. Go to Discord. I love you guys.